So hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show you the Codeceptjs, how to set up the Codeceptjs framework with the different helpers for different automation. So coming to the web automation, I'm going to implement with the Playwright helper. So for this I'm going to use the IDE Visual Studio Code framework Codeceptjs, it's obvious, and automation web automation, and I'm going to use the Playwright helper with the browsers Chromium, Safari and Firefox, and in this video I'm going to use the Chromium browser. Okay guys, so let me launch the Visual Studio Code. So here you can see I have already opened the Visual Studio Code, and here I'm going to open the folder. So this is the folder I have created for demo. So okay, so for actually to start with this, let me go to the Codeceptjs official site. So this is the Codeceptjs official site where you can find the documentation of how to implement the different type of helpers for different type of automation. So coming to here in the drop down, you can find for the perform the web testing, we have these different types of helpers and mobile testing and API helpers. So from this you can get to know like how we can implement, and this is a very quick start guide. So it will have the basic setup commands how you are going to do it. So use following these commands you can get to know how to implement it. And we have the, if you want to implement it specifically to the helper, then you can go to this Playwright, and you can see here the Playwright library has to run test, it has the Chromium, Firefox and WebKit. So when you are actually using this command, it's going to install all the executable files of the browsers in the Playwright itself in the node modules. So these are all like how we can able to configure it. And here if you see, it is the configuration variables here you can find. So to give the URL we need to use this, and what browser we are going to launch. The show variable is like if you give show as a true, then it will open the browser. If you give show as a false, and it will run it in a headless mode. So it has the capability of running in a headless mode also with a very easy setup. So you need to just pass the show variable as false, so it will launch the browser and it will run in headless mode and kind of background. And these and all we can use based on our requirements. So we can give the wait for navigation, and these are all window size. And if we want to pass the Chromium, then browser as a Chromium, then it will launch the Chromium browser. And default, if you won't mention browser variable, and it will default, it will pick up the Chromium browser. And to use the Firefox, we need to use this Firefox, and WebKit is like kind of Safari. So you need to use all these variables. And here if you see, we can find the different methods. So the actions, methods is nothing but the actions what we are going to perform manually. So related to that, they have already inbuilt functions or methods here. So to accept the pop-up, we need to just use the pop-up like how they are using here. So I am accepting pop-ups, and we need to just it will just perform the accepting the pop-up, kind of clicking OK, kind of. And canceling pop-ups is like on the pop-up, if you are just giving the cancel, so how it will do the action. So it will be the same. So we need to just call this function and it will perform the action. And here the I am on page. So I am on page is the function which we need to use to launch the browser with a specific URL what we have mentioned in the configuration file. We can just directly pass the URL with the like as they are showing it here, or we can just use this slash. So if you are using the slash here, then we need to mention the details kind of URL and all in the configuration file, that I will show you in the setup itself. But for now I'm just giving the overview idea of how we are going to use the function. So everything in detail they have documented here. So what kind of functions and how we are going to use, and very basic to advanced level they have very well documented. So it's actually the quite straightforward. If you just go to the documentation, you can get to know like what are all available methods here and how we are going to use it. So you can find a lot of steps or functions here. So based on our requirement, we need to just use those. So okay, so for now actually to have this setup, we need to just start with the installation of Node. So right now I'm actually having Node installed in my system. So that's why I'm not actually showing that step, but generally we need to first have the Node installed in our system to start with the setup. Okay, so to just check that, you can just give the node version, so it will just show the node version. So it means like the node has been already installed, and you can get to know the version of the node installed in your system. And for now I'm going to create the package.json file. So for that you need to give the init command. So here it is asking you the package name. So for now I'm just going with the defaults, what it is mentioning on the braces, inside the braces. So description you can give whatever you want based on the framework or based on the task you are going to do. So now you can see the package.json file has been created with all the details we have given. So right now I didn't give any specific details. So right now it has just kind of a default, you can say, like whatever it is suggested. So I have just given those. So it has created the package.json file. So now after this we have this package.json file. Now we can go to this Codeceptjs. So here we can find how we can actually implement it. So to implement the Playwright helper, so they are saying that we need to use this command npm Playwright, install Playwright and all. So I'm going here and I'm giving this command. So it is actually installing Playwright to the node modules. So now it is installing. You can see here it is installing the Chromium browser, actually the executable file I'm trying to say. Now it's Firefox, then it will go for WebKit. So now here you can see node modules, it has been created, and if you go you can find the Playwright browsers.json. So you can see here it has installed all this Chromium, Firefox and WebKit. So after actually installing this, then we need to configure the Codecept here you can see the Codecept.configuration.js file. So let me show that. So after actually installing this, you can give this npx in it. You can use this command. So if you use this npx Codeceptjs init command, so it will initialize the Codeceptjs. Now it is asking like the test, where the test will be located. You can give the folder path if you want, or otherwise you can just go with the default location it has showed. And right now here it is asking like which helper you want to use. So right now you can see this blue highlighted arrow. So you can use arrow keys to just select the helper to implement. So right now I'm just showing for the Playwright, so I'm just going with the Playwright, and it is asking where the reports and all will be did, and it is showing like default one as a output. So I'm just giving it that, and the any language it is asking, so I'm going with English. And base URL it is asking. So here you can see the URL of localhost. So right now you can give whatever URL you are going to launch. So for now I'm just giving this Google. So which browser it is asking like whether it is to show or not. So the previously how I have explained, like show, if you give as yes, then it will run as a physical browser, and if you give no, it will run in the background like a kind of headless. So right now I'm giving it as yes, and it is default, it will be in the Chromium. If you want to run it on the Firefox, you can just give the Firefox here. So right now it will be in Chromium, so I'm just going with the Chromium browser. So it is just creating all the details what we have given here. So it is creating the files, step file and output folder, and then inside the test folder our test and all will be there. Okay, now it is asking like which feature file you are going to create. So here you can give like what feature file you are going to create, and file name of a test you can give. So you can see Codeceptjs is installed, and we are ready to go with the writing test. So that's it, it's very simple setup. Here if you see, you can see this login feature it has created with the login.js file. So as we have given the feature what we have created as a login, so it is created as a login, and file name of the test we have given it as a login, so it is again created the login.js file inside that feature login, and we need to write the test cases here inside that. So that's it guys, it's very simple setup. So in the next video you can find how we can set up for the API. Thank you guys, see you soon.